Fragments of Silicon has not, surprisingly, melted over the last 2 days.
I will vigorously rebuff that statement because I live in Florida. It is 80-degree weather and fucking humid pretty much all the time. So
it never stops.
Yeah, but we haven't melted. We're all still here. The show is going on. We're not dead.
Yeah.
It just feels like you've melted.
It was 95 here yesterday.
Yeah,
and I live in Maine.
How humid was it?
Huh?
How humid was it?
Probably ballpark 90%.
Okay, that's fairly fucking humid. Because it's been 100% humidity here for the past fucking week.
Yeah, I don't check the humidity all the time, but I do live right next to the ocean, so it's usually pretty high.
Anyway, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, is the regular crew. Mac is not here this week. Apparently,
for reasons.
Yeah, he did not drop any reasons to us, but he's got reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's going to be here for Last News Desk, so all we can do is take him at his word. As far as we know, Last News Desk is still on the schedule. That in mind, let's get to the news. Twilight, why don't you start us off this week?
Well, it's been hot here as well, so there's also been some rain to give us some relief, so that's good. And of course, caused some humidity, but it's been mostly rain for the most part.
Yeah.
But anyway, during the weekend, well, actually, during last week, the landlady's daughter had come in, and who's in real estate, and she had come around checking out to see how everything was in the community that is the places that she owns, like where I live and such, and she actually helped me out with getting this lighting system that's by the walk in the yard repaired and set back up, so I could see how to see the walk at night if I need to go out to my car and such, which I appreciate quite a bit. Especially, she and her husband also brought their 2 Great Danes that ran around the yard. They're well-behaved dogs, though. Well, one of them is, actually. That was kind of fun to mess around with them a little bit. So yeah, then work's going fine. Nothing much is actually going on there, and yeah, so not much else in daily life news. So gaming wise, MangaGamer and I have continued the Overwatch sessions on Monday. We've once again did the Mystery Heroes thing, which was fun. I think we plan on going back to normal stuff this coming Monday. And yeah, I've been playing some of my game for Sunday, and that's about it.
All right, y'all, it's you're up.
I said we didn't melt over the last few days, but it was a very near thing. It's been extremely unseasonably hot. Today, thankfully, was a bit cooler, and it's supposed to get cooler after tonight, but have not really accomplished much of anything productive over the last 3 or 4 days. Aside from Pathfinder on Sunday went pretty well because we were in the basement, and then MS Saga with back went okay because thankfully I got my air conditioner in my room installed. Usually I don't do that until like early June, but it seemed like a good idea, and it's been backed up, so that's good.
I mean, it is early June, so right on schedule.
No, I meant early July. Sorry.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Until it gets to be like the hottest part of the season. But this year's supposed to be hotter than usual, so that should be fun. Yeah, video game wise, MS Saga continues apace, and yeah, I played a little bit of my game for this week and need to do a bit more, and still been keeping up the usual amount of Pokemon, and did a little bit more of Age of Calamity, but that takes a lot more direct attention, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it. Yeah, mostly just been nobody can functionally hot. So.
And I know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Thankfully, the office does have air conditioning.
Anyway, so Betty, your go.
Well, the big thing over the weekend is I have a new headset, so if you're wondering why I sound different, surprise! I got the Razer Kraken Ultimate, and this one's nice because I can independently adjust the Skype volume that's coming in. So, yay! And yeah, we also, I think yesterday checked out a new game store here in town that has like video games, board games, card games, and it was kind of nifty. I may see about going there, more often.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. As far as gaming goes, I picked up Azure Striker Gunvolt pack on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And just been kind of tootling away on that because we lost internet for a while today.
Now, is that just the first two still?
I think it's just the first two.
Well, I mean, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, but Luminous Avenger X has.
Hmm.
Which is a spin-off. So I didn't know if they could be packaging that together. I didn't expect them to be, but it's possible.
Fair enough.
And we're potentially talking about switching the for Final Fantasy 14 raids. We are potentially switching from Tuesday to Monday, just because one of our raid team members' work schedule, they're not at home till like literally time it's about time to wrap up, so adjustments need to be made, so that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just kind of getting ready for the hell that is E3.
All right. There's nothing else. It's my go.
Yep.
As mentioned before, yeah, it's hot here. How could it not be hot? And muggy. Because it's the rainy season. It's literally rained every day for the past week, and that'll probably continue because summer here is when it gets wet. Elsewise, just been planning stuff. Planning the E3 schedule. Just sawing that down to the core stuff that we want to cover because, well, this E3 is, lacking some players, and also there's more events going on. Like there's all the Summer Game Fest stuff. There's the Guerrilla Collective stuff that we're not covering. Just a lot, it's a hangover from, the hell year. Not sure how much of this stuff is going to, linger in 2022, but in 2021, E3 is back, though it looks like EA and Sony are going to be permanent non-players in that affair.
For today, or for this year, or are you saying going forward?
going forward. Like, remember, they dropped out. Sony famously dropped out in 2019 or 2020,
Something like that.
whatever year.
Yeah, yes.
And EA, like, they've done events, but technically that was not an E3 thing. That's always been off campus.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, planning the next season of Fragments Silicon. We're up to August. Like, first bookings there have happened. Like, including one I'm really interested in seeing how it plays out. I'm like, it's a newly formed branch of a major entertainment company, let's say. Yeah. I was kind of surprised that they put out games too. But more on that later. Anyway. And as far as games go, already done with my game for the week. Hint: it's gonna be on the worst list. And the thing is, it's not anything the game itself was doing. It's just I could not deal with such an unoptimized Unity game.
Fine.
You know them, you hate them. They take fucking 10 minutes to load.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, just for that, it's in the fucking no pile. I'll be up front here. Which is a bit of a shame, but, and there's no fucking reason that game should be having such load times when it looks like it does. Like,
hey, sometimes games are popular or badly optimized. Sometimes games have ass-backwards control schemes.
Some games are both.
Yeah, this one is definitely unoptimized. I'll be up front. So, it's like I put 2 hours into that. I'd say at least a quarter of that was load times. So, outside of that, got inspired for this week's topic by playing Saints Row 4. Been playing quite a bit of Saints Row. I was hoping Saints Row 5 was going to be at E3 or, one of the events, but looks like no, or at least not at the publisher's event. Still could show up at, like, Microsoft. That's how these things work. Anyway, and that's my news for the week. No, Mac hasn't popped up yet. He said most likely in private, but looks like the likely happened. So, merrily, we shall move along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us, as always, given a few months, is John Pickett of MangaGamer.
Hello, it's good to be back again.
It's always good to have you. Let's see. So, I suppose we should start with your latest release, which is, if I'm recalling correctly, is Funbag Fantasy 3 IF.
Yeah, 3 if.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first question there is, does the if stand for something?
So, when Waffle originally developed Funbag Fantasy 3, they originally released one version, and then later on they did a remake of it that added several more arcs and several more heroines that you can pursue. And so 3 if is that remake, and we chose to localize that so that fans can get the full experience.
Makes sense, but still not really answering the question. That is, does the IF stand for something for in-universe? Is just something the publisher attached?
It's basically it's if, because, like I said, the story was remade, so they tweaked a couple tidbits in the storyline to accommodate for all the new content. So it's if in that sense of it's a quote-unquote separate storyline, but not really. Like 80-90% of it's the same.
Okay, I get it. So it's like, what if?
Yeah.
Okay. And, like, how much was added? Like, how many girls can you romance and whatnot?
It added the several of the goddesses from the underworld and the ability to pursue several of the goddesses in Olympus, like Aphrodite and Athena.
Okay. And it's just content additions, no adjustments to any sort of editing.
I mean, yeah, all the adult content is still there.
Okay.
If anything, there's more in this version and that's why we chose it.
Right. And in terms of I guess for lack of a better term, the Fun Bag Fantasy franchise, I'm like, is this a continuation of a story? Is this a standalone thing? Is it a new continuity?
Yeah. So in terms of the Fun Bag Fantasy franchise, Fun Bag Fantasy 3 is the first to actually be an entirely separate story. It still continues a lot of the themes and the concepts of Fun Bag Fantasy, and that's why it's the same franchise. But in Fun Bag Fantasy 3, we leave the world and the setting of Fun Bag Fantasy 1 and 2 behind and enter into a brand new setting that is based on ancient Greece and ancient Rome, where instead of playing as sort of a normal, mundane mortal human like you do in 1 and 2, with Fun Bag Fantasy 3, you actually play as the forgotten god of breasts.
Well then.
I'm like, I have a hard time believing that that's a god that would ever be forgotten about. But
Yeah, so the story starts with one village in trouble, like summoning him to aid them, and after using as a god, he's very weak since he has no worship. But he manages to help them, and as reward, they give him a tit job, and that sort of kickstarts his path to regain full divinity and rise up to Mount Olympus.
Okay. Try not to corpse people.
Yes.
Okay. So does this god have a name, or is that kept on the back?
His name is. I'm trying to remember. It's He does have a name. I'm trying. Julinas. Yeah.
Julinas.
Yeah, Julinas. All the names are Greek and Roman, so aside from the goddesses, it can be a little hard to remember.
I'm just trying to figure out if that's a pun on anything. It's coming to mind, but granted, Greek and Latin were not my thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how much of a character is Julinas? Does he have a face? Does he have a voice? That kind of thing?
He's not like the previous Fun Bag Fantasies. He does not have a voice. He doesn't really have a face either in any of the CGs. But he's the main character. The things that he does in the storyline, he saves women, and they reward him with breasts and breast worship. There's plenty of sex and breast-oriented sex from that, and of course that enhances his divine power and boosts his divinity. And as more people come to worship him, he grows in power and grows to be more of a player in the world and history.
Right. So, on the flip side of things, who are the various women that you can romance?
So there's one of the early ones is Paya. She's one of the girls. She's the first girl to become a priestess of the main character. There's Ajura, who's the goddess of war and minotaurs. There's Venus. There's Athena. He starts off in the underworld with Medusa, but Medusa doesn't get her root until the DLCs, or the, sorry, not DLC, the sequel to Funbag Fantasy 3F is when Medusa gets her root.
Huh.
And then there's, I want to say at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 more along the way. But those 4 are sort of the main ones.
Sounds like a fairly healthy lineup.
Yes.
Now, we've been using the term romance quite euphemistically, but is that the overall point? I mean, yes, fucking is going to be part of the equation, but are you actually trying to, make one of these goddesses or demigods your lover?
There are different endings, kind of like in the original Funbag Fantasies, where you can shoot off to different endings with each of the main heroines based on your choices, but the sort of canon ending is more of a harem ending.
That's pretty fitting with actual Greek mythology. Like, granted, more fitting was just fuck him and leave him. Like, ask Zeus about it.
Yeah, Zeus, dude never had sex with anyone as a person.
Yeah. So, like, actual Greek mythology is quite the thing. Anyway. So you mentioned there's a sequel to this one. What is that Funbag Fantasy 4? Or is that like
Funbag Fantasy 4 is a different game that was recently announced in Japan, if I remember correctly. But no, the sequel to this, I want to say it's like Artemis's Arrow and Medusa's something else, and it basically just adds a little extra to the story of Funbag Fantasy 3 that lets you have a root with the underworld goddess Medusa and obviously the Olympian goddess Artemis.
Right. So is that like a standalone spin-off thing, or is that like a second revision to this game?
It's kind of like a standalone sequel.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit more of a spin-off.
And do you have any plans on localizing that?
We're not that we don't have any plans at present, but obviously part of why we chose Funbag Fantasy 3 was to keep that possibility open. Mm-hmm. So, once we see how well Final Fantasy 3 does over time, then maybe we'll be able to make some firmer plans and stuff there.
Noted. Like, also phrasing. Anyway, and how has Funbag Fantasy 3 been faring so far?
It's been faring quite well. The series obviously has a lot of fans, and so we've got a lot of repeat and comeback customers that are very happy with it.
Good to know. Like, I forget, is this one on Steam or not?
I believe it is on Steam, but it is on Steam, but it's behind the adult wall.
That makes sense. I really don't think this is the kind of visual novel that you can sanitize.
But yeah, it is available. Final Fantasy 3 is also available on Steam, fully uncut. So.
Yes, moving forward here, talk about some third-party releases like Nakadashi Banzai 5, Arc of Artemis, and Explorer of the Abyss. My first question here is, I don't think we've actually delved into this, is how do you go, or how does MangaGamer go about looking for external visual novels to publish on your website?
So, I mean, to some extent, it's more we look at other, we work with other publishers. So like Explorers of the Abyss,
Mm-hmm.
and is published by Kagura Games, which we've been working with and publishing, really, we've been working with for many years now. They're technically a localizer and a publisher of their own, so our relationship with them is more that of a retail outlet with
Mhm.
another publisher. And same with like Nakadashi Banzai 5, Umesoft, the Japanese, if I remember right, that's the Japanese company hiring out the localizations. And so they approached us, and we've been working with them. They publish to several different sites. Ours is just one more storefront for them. So a lot of those third-party titles follow in that vein, where we have a relationship with the publisher and we serve as the retailer. Because obviously, with adult entertainment, finding retailers and places to carry and provide your games is a big challenge. So, it's a great service that we're very happy to provide.
Indeed. And is that a service that only applies to adult games, or has anyone approached you with like an all ages visual novel that they want on the MangaGamer site?
So we had, oddly enough, we had one instance where we were approached, but it was actually the publishers for, I believe the title is called Key to Home, if you ever remember the controversy around that.
Not offhand.
It was a game that was trying to get published on Steam, but was rejected because it deals with basically it deals with someone kidnapping minors, and so it dealt with that sort of touchy subject of the sort of abuse of minors. And while it wasn't an adult title, obviously Steam didn't want to touch it because of that. And so they tried coming to us to see if we would carry it. And not surprisingly, our payment processor actually said no, because people would assume it is an adult game if it was hosted on our website, and that was not, the content in that could not fly as an adult. No.
I can see their point of view on that. And also Steam, if only just because, this is about as raw as subject matter as you can get.
Yeah. We reviewed the game, and it was actually a genuinely good game, and I'm kind of sad that it never found a proper outlet to be retailed.
Well, I mean,
but it's unfortunate that the circumstances around it.
Right. I suppose. Do you know if that game came out at all?
Don't recall offhand. I don't know. I don't think it ever did.
I'm like, I can't even say if that's unfortunate or not, because once again, just the subject matter, it's not even a matter of, endorsing pedophilia. It's like, this is a subject matter that you have to get right, or it could be actually harmful. So, I'm not surprised that didn't make it to release. So
yeah.
But also in that regard, do you just publish Japanese-born visual novels, or have you also hosted external Western-developed visual novels as well?
So we have hosted Western-developed visual novels, as long as they're kind of in that anime visual novel style. We've worked with Sukiware is one such Western publisher. They've done they did one game about cross-dresser and another about Yuri Fox Girls. Trying to remember the titles. Critical Hit and The Tower of Five Hearts were two of their bigger ones. And we've also, for a while, we carried titles from Lupe Soft, which is another Western visual novel developer.
Yeah. Covered one of those.
Yeah.
Mutiny. I don't remember that game.
Yeah, Mutiny. We carried that and helped get that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is this a business that just because you're friends with these other things, or do you actively look around for these disparate visual novels?
We do look around. We don't have a whole lot of staff dedicated to looking for potential third-party and Western developer partners. So if I'm being fully honest, we have more success when such developers approach us.
Mm-hmm.
But we do. It is part of the business model, and we do encourage this interaction because part of our goal as a company is expanding and developing the market for these games as a whole. So being able to host and sell and promote and showcase these other titles that, maybe we didn't necessarily work on ourselves, but that are still good quality titles, it helps expand that interest in general. It helps build, the base. It helps more people find things that they'll be interested in, enjoy these kind of games, and just generally, makes things better for everyone.
All right. And how often are you approached with various visual novels?
It comes and goes in spurts. Usually there'll be, so far it's kind of been, we'll have periods where we're not really approached at all for months or years, and then we'll have 3 or 4 people approach us at once. And currently, for the past year or so especially, most of our third-party releases have been through existing clients, our partners.
It's not really surprised given,
Yeah, given everything that's happened, it's kind of hard for people to...
I mean, on that note, are there any plans for the convention circuit, since we seem to be rounding the corner on the COVID plague?
We actually do. So Otakon has announced that they are moving forward, and Anime Expo has announced that they are not. So our first convention of the year is going to be Otakon this August in DC. We're still waiting to hear more details back from them about how that's going to work, how many vendors there are. I think they recently published a policy on their website saying that they would not be checking vaccine status, but they would be mandating masks for all attendees. So there's still a lot of development going on there, since they weren't able to, make that official declaration until basically this month. And it's only less than 2 months away. So
right. I mean, honestly, given conventions in general, having everyone wear a mask sounds good to me, just on a general basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on the one hand, I'm not excited about the idea of wearing one for 8 hours straight, because it can be uncomfortable. On the other hand, it will be nice to actually come home from a convention without a cold for once.
Without con plague.
Yeah.
I'm so many people just because, well, it's a convention.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's, to some extent, it's just the price of being in that large of a crowd. But
Yep.
it's fun. We'll probably have to change a couple of our things with our setup to accommodate things. Because I know for the past few years we've been building an enclosure at our Otakon booth to sort of keep all the adult content like sort of in contained room so people can browse it without us having to censor it. But obviously that's probably not something we're going to do with COVID being a concern, because I don't think people would want to go into a thing like that this year. And then in terms of conventions, the other one that looks like it's actually still happening this year is going to be Anime New York in November. Obviously, there's still time for that to change, but if it doesn't, we will be attending that as well.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's things are slowly but surely getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Anyway, I suppose the last thing to talk about this time around is a recent license announcement, and that's Distant Memoraho.
Memoraho. It's Esperanto.
Oh.
Because Distant Memoraho is the sequel to the Expression Amrilato.
Right. And is this a direct continuation?
Yes, it is. The Distant Memoraho contains two different stories. One that picks up immediately at the end of the Expression Amrilato, where Rin and trying to remember names. The gray-haired girl are together, and they've hit that point in their relationship where Rin is starting to doubt her decision to stay in the world with Rin and others. Rin is having trouble. The other girl is having troubles with one of her classmates in school, and so it deals with, where the first one deals with obviously the blatant communication issues of language barrier. This part of the arc deals with the communication issues of trying to convey your feelings within a relationship and to, keep that going.
For those keeping score at home, Amrilato is Esperanto for relationship, particularly romantic. Memorato is Esperanto for souvenir or memento.
Yeah, the memento is the one that this plays more on.
I mean, really, they're pretty much the same concept, just one is a little bit more artful.
Yeah. And then the second story in Distant Memoraho is a tale from before that focuses on the teacher who became a guardian for the other main girl in the story, and it explores the story of how those two came together, how the teacher became her guardian, and that tale of the struggle to communicate between two people who are very different ages and very different stages in their lives.
I suppose I do have to ask about that second relationship. That's purely platonic.
It is. It's not romantic. It's parental, basically.
Yeah, because I'm like, I know there are visual novels there where it would not be the case. Yeah, I'm like, I have a lot of problems with those relationships. Not just the obvious age gap, but also the power dynamics that can arise in such a relationship. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. That's not in this game. This game, it's the parental relationship.
And
also, for everyone keeping score that cares, which is, I'm sure, just me, in both the Japanese version and in actual Esperanto, the J is actually pronounced as a J and not an H or Y.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that, so it is Distant Memorajo.
Rata.
Okay.
Memorajo.
Sorry, I'm not
I'm
like
not an
saying you're
Esperanto
bad at this.
expert,
I was surprised.
I'm
I
not
mean-
an Esperanto expert, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Esperanto, while being the world's most popular constructed language, is fairly
That's
obscure.
not saying much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
that means it's more popular than Klingon.
you could make an argument against that
Large
because of popular Star Trek, but anyway, getting back to Distant Memorajo here. Sorry.
Mhm.
How far along in terms of translation is this?
So we're actually going to be opening pre-orders for that in about 2 hours tonight.
That's handy. Like, I guess along those lines, do you have a release date and or price in mind?
It will be releasing on the 15th of July, and I believe the price is going to be similar to Amrilato. I know Memorajo is slated to be released on Steam as well.
Mm-hmm. Was this one of the games you were Amorlato? Wasn't that one of the ones you were having problems with Steam, or am I thinking of another?
No, you're right. Amrilato is the one that Steam was like, this can't be on our platform because there's a scene of two girls bathing. And even though it's a completely non-adult game and we had no problem getting it on the Discord store and GOG and other platforms, Steam did eventually, go back on that after the commotion that their ban caused. So Amrilato is now on Steam again.
And have you been running any problems with the sequel here?
Not yet. I suppose I should cross my fingers, but
Sure.
no. Everything is going smoothly toward the release for that so far.
I suppose along those lines, is there anything that would be of concern?
No. I think there's one. I want to say the worst scene in terms of that content. I think we see the teacher coming out of the bath with a towel in front of her, covering up like a little bit of her side hip.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, hopefully things work out much smoother this time around.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's about it from me this time around. Anything else from you guys?
I think I'm good.
I'm good. Sounds interesting.
I'm good.
Okay. As always, John, it was lovely having you on our program.
Yeah.
It's always a good time talking. Let's see, as far as next time, how does September 1st work?
September 1st should be good.
Okay. All right. So until then, as always, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And, if you want to experience the full MangaGamer experience, be sure to visit their website.
Yeah. And if those of you listening now or later want to check our website out, in about 2 hours from now, we're going to be releasing John at the Clock Tower from Lyresoft on our website, and it'll be released on Steam later tomorrow.
So Petty, play us to the next segment. Welcome to the topic of discussion. This week we're talking about the Saints Row franchise. No, mainly because we're still, in pre-E3, and I can't say nothing's been announced, but that Battlefield trailer was
just fucking CGI. Like, is the actual gameplay trailer showing up at the Xbox conference? So,
Because of course.
Yay.
As someone who's only vaguely familiar with the franchise, Saints Row is that one that started as kind of a relatively serious, what's the word?
GTA
Grand Theft Auto type game, and then got very silly.
Yeah, Saints Row has had a very interesting arc. Now, I can't really speak on the first game because the first game only came out on the Xbox 360. Like, seriously, there was no PlayStation 3 version, there was no PC version, just Xbox 360. It came out in like the first year of that platform, and it seemed to have sold well enough to get a sequel, but not enough to get any fucking remakes or ports. And so I can only speak to reputation on that one. But Saints Row not only started off serious, but from what I understand, it was a fair bit more serious than Grand Theft Auto. Now, because
Grand Theft Auto was always fairly what's the word?
Humorous. Like, granted, at least PlayStation 2 era, GTA 4 got a lot more serious. Just one of the reasons I didn't like it as much. Also, because
I was going to say flippant about the tone of the crimes.
Well, GTA could be a very goofy series at times. Like, usually intentionally so. Like, it definitely partakes in a lot of black humor. I can tell you that. But, yeah. And Saints Row never really went that track. I don't think they ever invested in satirical radio stations. And that's like the biggest source of the satire in GTA games. All these radio stations that parody American radio media. Granted, that got less so starting with Vice City, because that's when they started really doubling down on the licensed music. And that's definitely a legacy that Saints Row took, up until Gap from Hell, but we'll get there. But, Saints Row, fairly serious. Saints Row 2 is when the cracks started showing. Make no Saints Row 2. Saints Row 2 I have on PC. The problem is I have Saints Row 2 on PC. Because Saints Row 2 is infamous for its shitty PC port.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have fixed that up, but I haven't endeavored to find out if that's been the case with the Steam version. Once again, we're getting a remaster. We got a remaster of the third game, which is perfectly fucking fine. But we don't get this for the game that never left the Xbox 360, and the game that is legendary for fucking mangled ports. I'm I'm assuming that it's because Saints Row the Third is the most popular of them, or sold the most. There's got to be a reason that one got prioritized over all of the other Saints Row games.
Mm-hmm.
But Saints Row 2. Getting back to the tone, the tone there was still mostly serious, still mostly about crime. Although I think this is when the Ultor Corporation comes into the field. It's not just that they're a cartoonishly evil corporation, though I repeat myself. They're also, at least when they get to Saints Row, very, very cyberpunky. But Okay, getting back to my point about the tone. There is one mission in Saints Row 2 that is fairly infamous, and that is the shit mission. Like, if you don't know it, it's quite literal. Like, you are driving and controlling a waste management truck, namely one that is literally filled with shit, and you spray it around.
We're getting some weird static.
Okay.
I don't know if that's you, Adam, or what. It was just doing the normal thing, but then... Okay, yeah, it's gone away now. There was a little bit of an electronic tone a second ago, so I wasn't sure if it was something unusual.
Anyway, so my point, point is here, it's a, clearly this is less serious than Saints Row 1, considering that you're spraying shit around. And that really kind of sets the tone of where the humor will flow. It's definitely got a more juvenile sense, although thinking about the other Saints Row games, there's nothing quite like the shit mission in the other Saints Row games. Because, the arc that takes place in Saints Row the Third, the tone is in that game is where we start getting the mad insanity that Saints Row is now known for. And it only, it started in Saints Row 2, but what could they do to elevate themselves above the the shit mission? By making the Saints pop culture icons, which is not that unusual. I mean, yeah, they're a street gang, but for lack of better terminology, rap music, fuck. I remember where Snoop Dogg started out and where he is now. I'm not saying he was an actual gangster or anything, but he was quite famous for indulging in, in the 90s was very shocking, smoking weed. What a difference 30 years makes. And so, Saints Row takes that bent. But, it still stays true to the roots of being, a GTA game. Like, Saints Row 4 is where we get, if nothing else, interesting.
Is that the one where you can become president?
Yes, that's the one where you become president. But, I almost forgot about the most important feature introduced from Saints Row 2 was the customization. And that is a thing that has continued, to expand over the Saints Row games, the mainline ones. Because Saints Row is pretty notable for not just having a character creation tool, but having a very robust in ways that other character creation tools do not. Like, this is a character creation tool that can acknowledge that minorities exist and gay people exist. And starting, I want to say with with Saints Row 2, you could also imbue gender. Don't think they've gotten to the non-binary yet, but I wager that's a thing that you could have in Saints Row 5. I'm expecting many, many gender options in that game, just because that's kind of what they leaned into. Now, as it is, once again, still robust. You can, you get not just skin colors from realistic minority to, alien greens and blues and shit. But also, realistic hairstyles that aren't just like the 3 hairstyles white people know. Fucking cornrows and afro and that kind of thing. There's more hairstyles around than just a few of them. Anyway, but Saints Row 4. going back to play that, it's interesting because maybe also prescience, given everything, because I do remember this game causing quite the stir because it's a GTA game where you don't really need to play in the style of GTA. That is to say, because you're in a simulation, you very quickly gain superpowers. Like, you can super run, and you can jump, tall leaps in a single bound.
You can jump good.
Whoa, I know Kung Fu.
Not that specifically, but you can shoot fireballs and ice. Yeah. And as a consequence of that, not sure if it was intentional or not, you do not have to bother with cars. After you unlock some stuff fairly quickly on. I know I don't.
Now, is it still Grand Theft Auto if you're just stealing the car to pick it up and throw it at someone?
Probably, but if we're being honest here, are crimes even really happening? Because you're in a simulation, you're trying to fight off against evil aliens. Like, for a Saints Row game, you're pretty unabashedly the good guys.
Pretty much.
It isn't like, say, Saints Row 3, where, you're battling an evil corporation, but you're still killing people. You're still killing rival gangs. Here, it's all aliens, and it's all computer data. This is really what measure is human. And in this case, not a lot of human. Hell, if anything, you are entirely fucking justified in taking these aliens out because they blow up the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is, this, open world games have really moved away from the GTA template for the most part. Whereas even that was still a case in 2015, though that was definitely less so, considering things like Just Cause. When you created a game that can top out Just Cause, because I'm like, also, maybe the satire has it either aged better or worse in the year 2021. I'm honestly not sure. Because keep in mind, this game was released, before the dark times. Before the era of... They were very fucking dark times.
Fair enough.
I would endeavor to not call that the past 4 years anything else.
Fair.
Considering the stupid orange yam that was a president.
Fair.
I can legitimately say that the Saints Row boss was a better president, no matter what. Because he or she, however you want to, designate that avatar, knew what empathy was.
Gasp.
Among other things. But we can save the political talk for the political show. Yeah, and other complaints about Saints Row 4 is this is, when we see Steelport, the map of Saints Row the Third, as a recurring setting, and a lot of that has to do with Saints Row 4 was born out of a canceled DLC expansion called Enter the Dominatrix, which, ironically enough, became DLC for Saints Row 4. But this was more born out of a expansion pack than a completely original game. That's why that's why it's like on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 initially, and why it's so similar in its map structure to the previous game. And they would do this again for the standalone spin-off, or the standalone expansion title, Get From Hell. This one definitely is that standalone expansion where it's shorter and slimmer than a mainline Saints Row game. For example, like Gat from Hell, like you're not rescuing Johnny Gat from Hell. You are Johnny Gat in Hell. It's a thing that happens in Saints Row 4. This is meant to be a coda to Saints Row 4, and not sure how it's going to set up Saints Row 5 because we don't actually know any details about Saints Row 5 yet. But so it's hard to know which ending is the actual canonical ending. And Saints Row 4 upped the ante again. If nothing else, Saints Row 4 is Saints Row is not afraid to experiment with new styles, just new maps that they have problems with. Because, once again, you got the Steelport map for the third time. I guess a bit more understandable this time because it's a expansion pack thing. Though you can play it standalone, hence the clunky title of standalone expansion. And yeah, it's Steelport, but it's in Hell now. And it's stripped out things like custom. You can't customize at all in this game, outside of like maybe outfits. Like even then, like you can't really go into any buildings. Like instead of weapon stores, there's just vending machines. Also, this game is actually more airborne than Saints Row 4. How they do that? Angel wings. Yeah, you can actually fly in this game instead of just gliding for long distances. It actually makes a big adjustment in the collectibles. In Saints Row 4, you've got these clusters. In Saints Row Gat from Hell, you got all these orbs that are floating in the air. Also, for some reason, they made this a fairy tale. An actual fucking fairy tale with a storybook and everything. Like I said, this series is fucking insane.
Indeed.
But it's in...
I guess that's really more what I meant by silly, is that it got really weird.
Yeah.
It did not stay being the same kind of game it was.
No. It, like I said, it went in the opposite direction that GTA went. Like, GTA got a lot more serious. I'm not sure how much that happened with GTA 5, because I haven't actually played GTA 5. I've never gotten around to picking that up. I don't know. I just had a really bad experience with GTA 4. Not just its tone, its graphics, its... Oh god, the PC version of that is also fucking broken. And I don't think that one got fixed. But anyway, I guess also worth mentioning is the quasi-spin-off hero shooter Agents of Mayhem, in that it happened.
I was about to say, that was a thing, wasn't it?
I think that's about what it was. Because turns out going for a single-player hero shooter is a bad idea. Or at least not a profitable one. Because
Whatever would give you that idea?
I mean, several things, but the failure of Agents of Mayhem is one of them. Anyway, as far as the fate of the Saints Row franchise, as mentioned, we do know that a new Saints Row game, not necessarily called Saints Row 5, because, but we know it's a brand new one. It could be maybe a continuity reboot. You know how these things go.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know that the game will not be at E3, or at least not at the Koch Media thing. I guess that's technically Summer Game Fest, but unless it's showing up on another stream, it's not showing up at E3. So, as far as the quality of the games, I enjoyed Saints Row the third, and Saints Row 4. Even Gat from Hell, although that's definitely that's only like an 8 to 10 hour game. Maybe that's more what you're looking for, but I wouldn't say Gat from Hell is a good starting point for the franchise. Mainly because it is meant to be an ending to Saints Row 4. And as far as where to start, I'd actually say Saints Row the Third, because it did get a remastering. Apparently a really good one. I just have never felt the need to pick that up because, I have the old one, and the old one was fine. Like, it's not a game that really needed updating as opposed to the first two.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also worth noting, don't pick up Saints Row the Third on the Nintendo Switch. It's one of the worst ports to the system.
I'm
I
shocked.
think Saints Row 4 might have fared better. I didn't really pay attention to that one. I do remember, Saints Row the Third had a lot of fucking technical problems. It had frame rates, a lot of technical glitches. It was just badly ported. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. The week ahead, so no Friday show this week, because, well, E3 is upon us. And we've been working out and sussing about to what to cover. And I think we've narrowed it down to these, either like a platform holder or the companies we care about. So the tentative list at this point is Xbox and Bethesda, Square Enix, Capcom, Nintendo Direct, and Bandai Namco. And as far as the configurations, that depends on schedules. Once again, we are expecting a new episode of Last News Desk, but, Max still hasn't shown up, but he's got 20 minutes, so we'll see what rolls out there. But until then, I shall wish you good gaming.